Welcome to the OCOM podcast, Modern Medical Education, where we gather experts to discuss various topics in modern medical education, with the focus of today's episode being on student leadership. I'm your host, Dr. Robert Hasty, the Dean and Chief Academic Officer of OCOM. And today I thought we had to have our inaugural class leadership for our, here today. It's a very unique opportunity to interview the class president and the vice president of the inaugural class. It's been a blessing to have such great student leadership that we have here at OCOM. And so I'll introduce our first guest host, student Dr. Kenny Quezada, our inaugural class president.
Well, thank you for having me, Robert Hasty. I am so excited to be the inaugural class president of the class of 2028. It's such an honor to be helping out my classmates and kind of paving the way for us.
Excellent. Well, it's so great to have you here. And then our second guest host today is the student Dr. Lidio Junksi, our inaugural class vice president. Welcome to the show. And how are you enjoying being part of the inaugural class vice president? Huh?
Yeah, thank you for having us, Dr. Hasty. It's honestly just mind-blowing when you think about it, when you put in retrospective where I think all of us were about a year ago or even just a few months ago. The semester's flown by so quickly already, but it's definitely an exciting experience. It's something that I never would have dreamed of. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here, and I'm glad to help in any way I can. Excellent.
I'll tell you, it's really incredible to have both of you. You're such incredible, leaders, and I know that your colleagues, your classmates really appreciate all the great, positive leadership. I'll start off, just by talking about, what you think your vision is for the inaugural class of OCOM, from a student leadership perspective.
I think our vision for the inaugural class of OCOM is having that sense of community where we're all working together to achieve the same goal, and we are all helping each other. And I feel like we can achieve much more as we work as a team.
Yeah, I would echo that immensely with what Kenny said. I think that the vision in general is just taking a step back and realizing that even though we are a medical school, we are a community. And not just for each other, but for the local community, for the state of Florida in general, for the nation that we serve. So I think the whole thing is just realizing that all of us are going to be spread out somewhere, whether it's in the local community, whether it's in the state, whether it's nationwide, or even internationally. So my vision is just that we all remember our roots, remember where we came from, and remember that, we are OCOM.
Excellent. Great. Well, one of the things that, I wanted to ask you all is, of course, a brand new medical school, the first class ever, and what are some unique challenges of being student leadership at a brand new medical school?
Well, some of the unique challenges of being a student in student leadership in a new medical school is just navigating through uncharted territory. You are the first class, and you're kind of setting the precedent for future class to come. So it can be challenging at times because you don't really have that upperclassman to give you that advice or to give you that guidance of how to be a leader. But I am so grateful to be here at OCOM because all the faculty and even you all share wonderful advice and help push me to be a better leader for the class.
Excellent. Yeah, great.
I think, again, I would just add on to that just by saying I think some of the unique challenges itself is also just realizing that because we don't have those upperclassmen, it's also almost a way that students will take the lead from the upperclassmen. And I think that, everybody at OCOM, we're very hungry. We all want to be the best that we can be. So I think some of the unique challenges have definitely been, getting people to understand that it's like we're there for them and we're going to advocate for their needs in any way. We're all go-getters. So it's about, having people understand that, we're there for them, and it's okay to kind of take a back seat sometimes.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you said about this new class. You don't have the second years to say, hey, things are okay, and it's almost like a zeitgeist at some medical schools where the first years come in and they say, oh well, gee, I'm studying hard and stuff like that, and the second year say, no, this is normal. You guys will survive. We all survived. You'll get through it. But at a new medical school, you don't really have those upperclassmen, to really kind of help you out. Exactly. And I also think it's also incredibly challenging. Leadership can always be challenging, but I think especially at a medical school level, because these are super motivated learners, And, people are incredibly engaged, right? I mean, people care about, how many microwave ovens there are and the quality of the ice in the ice machine.
Yep.
And of course, bigger things like the curriculum and things like that. And of course, you have, a lot of different opinions and everything like that. And I'll tell you, medical schools traditionally didn't really have a lot of leadership training in the curriculum. So I graduated medical school in 2000. Of course, once people become physicians, they expect you to be leaders. But you can probably guess how much formal leadership training I had in medical school. Zero.
Yeah.
And then in residency, and I actually ended up becoming a chief resident and everything. I had zero formal leadership and leadership training in residency. But then I came on, the chief resident. But that was sort of the norm back then. Of course, now things are different. You're going to get a ton of leadership training, throughout the curriculum and everything. But as the inaugural class presidents, and I know, I think some of you have had some leadership experiences before coming, to OCOM, but you may not have, had enough or a lot. It sounds like you have enough because you guys are doing a great job. But I know, Alidio, you actually, your family-owned business, restaurant and stuff. So you probably had a lot of leadership, opportunities there, right?
Yeah, I mean, so I started working at the family restaurant since I was about 12 years old. So from there, I started just working a cash register, busting some tables, and then from there, my father was like, work for a couple of years, and then we'll move you up to a leadership role, but you essentially have to earn it. So for me, it was a little bit gritty because I was obviously very young, and it's hard to really capture an audience and capture a group of people that are sometimes twice as old, 3 times as old as you, and essentially telling them, hey, this is how things are going to go. So I think for me, it was a very unique experience, and I'm very blessed that I had it, and I think it definitely comes into use here at OCOM. It's different for sure, but just kind of understanding that role that you don't always have to. I always tell Kenny this as well, and I tell different staff and faculty, which is you lead and people will follow. It's not about necessarily, ruling with an iron fist or saying this is how things are going to be. Just, show the way, pave the way, and people will follow. Yeah. So.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I actually have a little bit of a different experience. I didn't really have like a formal leadership training before becoming the inaugural class president, but I knew I kind of wanted to grow and get those leadership skills. And after talking to my advisor, Dr. Rama, she kind of said that if you want to, just go for it, and you're going to learn throughout the process. And that is something that is so true. Like from the first week I started being the class president to now, I feel like I have grown so much as a leader, and I'm continuing to grow. And it just takes experience and just hearing others' advice and just going on and like kind of evolving as you grow.
1000%. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love what you said about experience too. Actually, I had a friend of mine that always says that, experience is a result of previously bad decisions. So there may be something to that. I love it. Well, anyway, I was wanting to ask you all, some of the innovative things you're doing. I've Kenny, I know I've talked to you, and I know from a class leadership perspective, and I know that now you have a form that you're collecting, so you can try to get different opinions and things like that. But I'd love to hear some of the innovative things that you guys are doing.
I believe one of the most innovative thing that we're doing right now is me and Lydia, we're both working on a student-led class newsletter. And in that, we have a one-stop shop for students to share ideas that we can try to implement in the curriculum. It's also a place where we can share opportunities like volunteering events, AI conventions, and to also build a community. We have an OCOM Ovation where we give students shout out of their achievements or other praises that they receive from other students. So it's like we're growing a family within.
Excellent.
Yeah. And again, just to kind of harp on that and almost hit it from a different angle in the sense of, we 31 student organizations were, approved, voted for, and now fully in effect. And that in itself was a humongous feat, especially something to do kind of, mid-semester. So I thank Student Affairs, I thank Kenny, I thank the deans for their support. But I would say when you look at the grand scheme of, medical schools and even inaugural classes, what we did is probably not seen anywhere else. So
yeah. I get a kick out of that. So we have 97 students. We have 31 student clubs. It's like, 3 to 1. I was joking around with somebody. We'll eventually end up with like 97 clubs, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's incredible. And thank you for the leadership of doing all that. And by the way, talking about innovative things, I'm also very impressed what you're doing, Kenny, in terms of like the AI for like the student learning and stuff. So, I'd love to talk a little bit more about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have worked with many other students, and I kind of helped them how to use AI and create custom AI chatbots to help personalize their learning. Because it's just great because with self-directed learning, like you take it at your own pace and you try to learn whichever time. And I will be at midnight studying, and I will have a question, and I'm not going to read out to anyone at midnight. Everybody's sleeping, so it's great to have that AI kind of like help and tutor me along the way, and bring helpful and useful like analogy to help cement my learning. And with that, using the AI chatbots, we're able to create so many like practice problems to help cement our learning. Because I was reading this one book called Make It Stick, and one of the most effective way for you to learn is to quiz yourself, and that's how you're able to use the information you learn and help apply it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, you mentioned Make It Stick. I love that book. That is my number one favorite book in terms of education, in terms of higher education. And actually, if you look at what we've done here at OCOM, the principles that were in that book, we've actually incorporated almost all the proven, evidence-based principles. So things like interleave learning, certainly we have that within the systems course. More active learning as opposed to passive learning. I'll never forget when I was a medical student. We sat around in a lecture hall, watching, somebody read off a Microsoft PowerPoint handout for hours on end, and all of us would say like, "There's got to be a better way, right?" And so we have more of an active-based learning. And also things like the case-based learning, which has been very well evidence-based learning, where you're actually applying the information. You're getting the top of what's called Bloom's taxonomy, where you're actually applying that information. And again, all evidence-based learning. Learning consolidation courses, which is one of our courses. They incorporate the idea of deep retrieval processes. And so, part of adult learning is that you learn the stuff. And then probably about 3 to 6 months later, in terms of neuroplasticity, you sort of have a tendency to start forgetting the stuff. And, by having that deep retrieval process, where you almost forget the information, but you have to dig into your memory cells and like, what was that piece of information that I forgot? Or what was that again? And then you remember it. You'll never forget that again because, it's such a strong memory when you deep retrieve it like that. Or, things like frequent assessment. We have, quizzes and tests, pretty much every week, on Mondays. There's actually evidence that, the assessment drives, learning. So, yeah, I love that book. I'm glad you mentioned it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, and I don't know, Kenny, if you've been to Lidio's Family's Restaurant, Calabria.
I haven't yet, but I had the honor of eating it today.
I'll tell you, it's my favorite Italian restaurant in the Orlando area. It's up in Claremont off of 50. I take family members there all the time. It's an incredible place. So
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So one of the things I was going to ask you guys about is the amount of research I've seen from your class. I'm like blown away. It's Dr. Ganti, who chairs she's our director of research, told me the other day that now we have 20 publications from our inaugural class, and only like 3 or 4 months into medical school. Heck, when I was in 3 to 4 months of medical school, I was still trying to figure out where the bathroom was, let alone getting published, right? So it's pretty, So what is this? Why is your class being so successful with research?
I believe we just have a really good research program, and Dr. Ganti, she is amazing, and not just helping us find opportunities to submit publication, but helping motivate us to go out there and do these research. And on top of that, we also have a lot of students taking the initiative to help create organizations that encourages research. We have Yalini, who started the Journal Club, and the Journal Club just had their first workshop presentation on how to create OCOM research posters. And I think it's these programs and these actions that help inspire us to get these research out there and help us be more competitive when we're applying for these residency positions.
Yeah. And again, I just have to say huge thanks to Dr. Ganti. I think she is immensely helpful And she's that open door. So just even speaking as a student, you can walk up to her office and find her, and you can just shoot an idea at her. You can say, "Hey, I kind of wanted to do research about this," and she'll just say, "Okay, let's make it happen." And then a day later, she'll shoot an email, she'll find you in the hallway, and she'll say, "Hey, I was actually thinking about the research you told me, and I think we could do it this way or that way. What are your thoughts on it?" So she's definitely very helpful in the sense that like she will, if you send ideas her way, she will do everything she can to make sure to help you and guide you and offer her expertise. So I think that definitely has to account for just the mass research that our class has already produced and will continue to produce over the next few months, years, et cetera.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you about Dr. Ganti. She's like a force of nature herself. Yeah. She told me, she said, she kind of wants to try to help every medical student in the inaugural year get published, which is, it seemed like kind of a crazy idea at first, but I was like, I think she's going to do it. I would not discount whatever Dr. Ganti wants to do. I think she'll probably get it done.
No, she said that to us. We were all in the auditorium, and she said, not a single person will leave the first year none of you will enter MS2 without publication. She said, that is my guarantee. She said, I'm going to make sure it happens.
Incredible. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. I will tell you, so I am part of the admissions, process. So each week when we have admissions, and many weeks it's usually a couple times a week, I usually do like an introductory thing, and I talk to them a little bit about OCOM, and then we kind of do a Q&A session. And I'll tell you, the number one question that we get is research. I think the desire of folks going into medical school nowadays, in terms of their desire to do research, is off the charts. Which is good, right? It's more than any previous generation, but I also wonder, I don't know, what do you think the number one motivator is? Do you think it's just getting into residency? Do you think that, it's doing good for others? Do you think it's the public recognition of research? Do you think it's just mostly just getting into residency programs?
From speaking personally, with having different mentors and things like that, I definitely think it's ingrained that medicine is becoming more competitive every day. While there is such a need for physicians all throughout America, there is also just a large amount of different schools opening up and limited residency spots. So I think everybody wants to differentiate their application. Everybody can, we're looking at the same textbooks, we're taking the same standardized exams, but what will set you apart from another applicant? And I think that's a big motivator. I definitely think different things come into it, because to do research, you have to be interested in what you're doing. You're not just going to do something that doesn't interest you, because research is definitely lengthy and in itself time consuming. So it's a mixture between motivation, but then also that desire to just keep climbing.
Yeah.
And I agree. For me right now, getting these publications out, it's kind of helping me build my resume for that residency position. However, there's some ideas that I have in my mind that I want to do because it excites me, or I'm curious to learn more. Like being inspired from the Make It Stick book, I kind of want to see how you can implement AI to help with the medical education, and kind of go and do research on that to see if there are more effective ways that we're able to learn medicine. Because one thing is, when you're studying all of these diseases like lupus, it's not likely that you're going to see a clinical case presents itself in your medical education at that moment, because you're not going to have a patient come in with symptoms of lupus, and you're not going to have the application. But with AI, you can kind of create a case where they can come in with lupus and talk about their symptoms, and you're able to kind of cement that learning, and you're able to kind of do a little mini SP with it. So I kind of want to see how AI can be used for SP and medical education.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree too. I think, and Lidio mentioned also, the fact that people want to go after things they're interested in researching. We have this wet lab, but nobody wants to really use the wet lab anymore for PCR and stuff. People are more interested in things like the AI research, using artificial intelligence, which I'll tell you, I am fascinated with it. I think the ability of artificial intelligence to change medical education and the practice of medicine is just off the charts. I know that the SIM team is, they're using AI to grade SOAP notes for the medical students, and see how that's going to change things. I know that out in the practices, folks are starting to incorporate using AI to actually generate their documentation. And certainly we've talked about this before, what you're doing in terms of, you have that chat, GBT engine that the students can, query questions and everything, get these responses, or, even like that Notebook LM, from Google, which, and we all have Google accounts, and it's pretty incredible. You can make a podcast, upload some content, like, maybe it's, some handout you're reading, upload it and say, hey, make me a 30-minute podcast or whatever, press the button, and here you're listening to people talk about that material, compare, contrast, and differentiate, and all the stuff that's written in the material. And, you can go on your treadmill and, don't even have to, not even somebody reading, somebody actually discussing the material and trying to understand that in a better way. I mean, the tools, and I think we're just scratching the surface, right? Over the next 10, 20 years. I mean, it's going to be incredible. Part of the reason why one of our core values is continuous improvement and innovation. I mean, there's just going to be so much change. I mean, so I've been full-time in medical education 20 years. 5 years before that, I was graduating medical school. I can tell you, the rapidity of growth has never been faster than it has right now. What we're doing right now in medical education is so different than ever before, and I'm really excited about it.
I'm super excited as well.
Very excited. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, we're about ready to do a time capsule next month. So, we created this time capsule that's going to be buried under the ground. It's got a sign that, to open in 2050. And by the way, the reason why we didn't do it in the fall of our first semester in the spring is we thought it'd be kind of cool to do it in 2025. This way, in 25 years, it'll be 2050. And I also figured, at least I think I'll still be alive then. Johnny's gonna have to wheel me in my wheelchair or whatever. But that being said, hopefully it'll be kind of a fun event to put it in the time capsule. But be interested in seeing what you guys think that the inaugural class should be remembered for, and what you think that it'll be like to come back in 25 years.
I want the inaugural class to be remembered for being like trailblazers and giving back to the community. We had an amazing event today. We had a toy for Top Party to celebrate kind of all of us coming together to give donations and toys to children in need. And it's like these small events and these small acts of volunteerism that kind of it makes us better physician in the long run. I feel like as physician, you have to be altruistic and you have to be giving. And I kind of want the inaugural class to be remembered as those who really help transform and change the healthcare's landscape.
Excellent. And I think you will be too. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for myself, again, I echo what Kenny's saying, but at the same time, I exactly the same thing. I think I want to look back 25 years from now and be able to say, that was my classmate, and now they're at the top of their field. They're making differences in medicine. They're making differences in their communities and in their patients' lives every day. And I think we definitely will get that. I'm confident of that. So,
I'll tell you, I am incredibly inspired by the current generation of folks going to medical school. I think that the desire to serve, the desire to make a difference is more than any previous generation of physicians. You just go around and look at, leadership projects, that folks do, service projects that folks do. It's off the charts compared to previous generation medical students. And, and you hear it from folks applying to medical school, they really want to make a difference in the world. They want to make a positive impact on patients. And let's face it, most of the folks that are going to medical school, they could probably make more money going out in the business world, probably a heck of a lot more money than, spending 4 years in medical school and 3 to 7 years into residency and all this other stuff. But they truly do want to, do good for others and stuff. And to me, that's what inspires me so much. And of course, what we're doing here, training a better physician, training the next generation of physicians, I truly think that the OCOM graduates will change the world. My dream is that when folks graduate from here, they're the ones that program directors want. They're the ones that we want to take care of our, family members and loved ones, and that's the dream. So, but it's always kind of funny though. people will come forward, in a few years. Oh, so you guys have it so much better than we had it, right? And
Hmm.
we had to walk uphill both ways through the snow and stuff like that. So it'll be kind of fun to kind of hear some of these stories. But some of that may be true. Maybe not the snow though.
Yeah, not the snow in
Yeah,
Florida, but
Yeah, no, but I've definitely been excited for. I'm excited for the new class to come next year. But I always tell my friends, I tell Kenny as well. I'm like, I can't wait for the new class to come in because I'm going to tell them, listen, you guys have it easy. We, in the sense that we were the first, and we had to almost adjust to the curriculum without somebody kind of giving us that guiding hand. Whereas we're going to be very helpful, survival guides, all sorts of things for the new class. So those are already in the works. So yeah.
awesome.
yeah, I'm super excited for the new class to come and like kind of be a mentor for them. I host like little study sessions with Fluke, which is my favorite like platform to study, for like as a group. And I'm excited for like the new class and for me to pick my next mini Kenny and be like, here's all of my Blue Kids, lead the next year of study sessions. You got this. So I'm excited to have the new class come.
Awesome. Yeah. Although, I was talking to one of the medical students today, and it's kind of funny. Right now you guys have this huge building,
Hmm.
144,000 square feet, and and they were like saying, yeah, I can just kind of go to my small group room, my study room, and whenever I want. We have all these beautiful small group rooms. We actually have 26 of them if you count the 4 in the library, and and most of the time they don't even need to like make reservations. And then next year you have we're gonna have 144 first years next year, and they'll come in. Well, gee, somebody's in my small group room or whatever. And it's like yeah, where'd
Funny
they
enough,
come from?
yeah, funny enough, me and my friends, we were just talking about it because we have our own room, which is, I'm not gonna say the room number, but it's right in front of the chandelier. It's a little warmer than all of the other rooms, and it's like our room, and we're like already planning that the moment is like strikes midnight that we're gonna start reserving all the rooms, set it up for the whole week because I don't know, that's like our I feel like a lot of us we have our room and that's like kind of our second home.
Awesome.
Yeah, we definitely have those. If you walk around the study rooms at any time of the day, you'll see there's individuals that will stick to the same room every time without fail.
Hmm.
So that is their room, with reservation or not. It's almost like their name might as well be written on the door. That's where you're gonna find them if they're on campus. So it's definitely gonna be different next year with sharing spaces and accommodating for the new students. But it's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I was walking through. We were still in our early construction, and I was walking through with one of our board members, and he said, "Do we really need all these small group rooms, right? Because they're 22 and stuff, the big ones, and then the 4 in the library." And I was like, "If we had 3 times as many, especially once we get the full complement, it still won't be enough because the desire to use the small group rooms, and I talked to other you know, medical school deans and university types, and it's Boardwalk and Park Place. I think, and I also think it reflects, the current generation of folks that like to study, right? I mean, there's a lot more collaborative studying. Although I was walking through one group today, and they all had like their headphones, like 4 people in a room, all had their headphones on, all looking at their own personal device. But I think they like that feeling of connectiveness in that room together, and they were friends, and it made them comfortable. Which I guess they could have just been in the library doing the same thing, but I get it, right? I mean, I love the small group rooms too. That's where I'd want to study.
Hmm. It's definitely more motivating and more encouraging to study with others. And I feel like, I mean, I would be a person right now studying with my headphones on for final week that's just around the corner because it's kind of like game mode. But I feel like a lot of us, like, we like using the Apple TV to share like our notes and kind of teach each other about all of the different stuff that we're learning in that moment. So I really like the study room in the sense that we can kind of help present and share ideas and just collaborate, and it makes studying a lot more fun and enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think another aspect of that is also just accountability as well. When you're all in a group, you can all be studying on your own devices, but then we like to take breaks sometimes and just talk with each other, whether it be about material or just about life in general. But then it's also about accountability, which is, if you're in the library with other people, you can't really say things out loud. You gotta kind of make sure that you're staying at a reasonable vocal range. But at the same time, if I see my friend, on his phone and I see him not studying, I'm like, hey, get back to the books. So it's just that, back and forth reciprocity. So.
Yeah. And I think you said something very important. I mean, to me, I think, one of the important aspects of getting through, going through medical school is that socialization, right? You're with other learners, it's a transformative process becoming a physician. And I think, working together, talking professionally, and let's face it, most of us have spent, our entire lives, by the time we get to medical school studying and everything, but now you're with other folks that, in many cases see the world very similar to you in terms of, desire to, be physicians and give back and make a difference in the world. And, to be able to have that socialization, I think is important. So anyway.
I believe it's super important, and I'm so excited to see all of the new additions that we're gonna have in the student lounge. I feel like there's gonna be like a better sense of family. Like we have a Nintendo Switch that's gonna be installed on the TV. We have a ping pong table, and I'm excited to host like mini tournament sessions with everyone to kind of take a break from studying and just strengthen our bonds with each other.
Yeah, and again, that's just going to be, twofold next year when we have the new class. It'll be, upperclassmen versus lowerclassmen, and you had a tournament who can win. So it's definitely very exciting. And thank you to President Chad. He's actually the one who helped support and sponsor that. So it's everybody's super excited. If anything, they were like, where are the paddles? It's finals week, and everybody's like, well, just one game. So
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And also evidence that you guys have made a difference, right? You heard from your colleagues that you need the ping pong table. You needed these, this, I guess, third place sociologically they call it the third place, things to do, to be able to, spend some time socially with each other, or just decompress a little bit. And you guys advocated for it and got it, and which I think is incredible, right? Yeah, it's like the microwave oven. So. But I don't know if you guys know the story about the microwave ovens. 'Cause, you guys wanted some more microwave ovens, right? The class, you heard from the class at microwave ovens. Lynn, he's our director of facilities. Lynn Nicasio, who's an incredible person. He actually anticipated that you'd need more microwave ovens. He actually had them all sitting in the back, so it was pretty easy when you guys came forward and said, "Oh, we need more microwave ovens," and and he and actually, we texted Lynn, and Lynn says, 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, I'll put them out. And then, you guys were able to,
No, it was really funny. It was like the moment that it was brought up, the next day, the microwave ovens were already there. And we were like shook.
It was very quick. It was very unexpected. I remember I told Kenny, I was like, did he just go buy these all at, like Target or something? Where'd he get, like 5 or 6 more microwaves overnight? But yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's incredible. So, incredible team here. Well, anyway, what else do either of you like to discuss during the podcast episode today?
Kenny?
I'm kind of drawn to a blank. I feel like, what are some advice that you would give to us as class leadership position? Yes.
So great question. So, first of all, I'll tell you some of the things I've learned in leadership over the years, because you were talking about experience. You learn from the mistakes that you made sometimes, and I'll be happy to share the things I've learned and my experience. But I can tell you, first of all, I'm a big believer in servant leadership. I'm a student of servant leadership, and the fact that if you can serve the needs of those folks that that you represent, you're going to get they're going to be able to get the outcomes that they want. And, and that's, at the end of the day, I think that that's important. I also think that part of being a servant leader is also to engage democratic leadership styles, right? By definition, student leadership is a type of democratic leadership, and that everybody has a voice, right? Now, not everybody gets their ways, right? We're, voting Americans here, and, we know that, in elections, whatever side you vote on, that side may not necessarily win. And, and so it's important that folks have a voice. They don't always get the outcomes they want, but at least they have their voice. And I think that the more you can do that, and it has been shown in democratic style leaderships, they have the best outcome of any other type of leaderships. And it's because, you have that satisfaction that you were able to get through. And so I think, if you can kind of focus on some of those basic, principles. Now, at the end of the day, you all speak as the voice of the class, right? It's like e pluribus unum, right? Out of many, comes one voice. And so that you have that opportunity to, make a huge impact. And sometimes just the subtle things that you can do in terms of leadership, representing those voices, appropriately, can make huge impact, differences. And you guys have seen that already, right? The differences, through the curriculum, by having that unified voice for the class, or by getting that Nintendo Switch and the ping pong table, you can make a huge difference. And I can tell you, you're in an environment here that is very supportive. We want you to be successful as student leaders. We want the students' voices to be heard and listened to, and to be able to work together with administration. What we're doing here is, I think, unique. I mean, our desire to design and develop the medical school of the future is strong. I mean, that's what we really want, and we want to support you through the process. One of our first core values, continuous innovation and improvement. We want to continue to grow. To me, sometimes you'll see organizations that will have excellence as a value. To me, I don't think excellence is a state of being. I think excellence is a state of becoming. And if you're doing the same stuff that you were 5 or 10 years ago, you probably aren't excellent anymore. That might have been excellent then, but it may not be excellent now. And so I think that, the more that we can, work together collaboratively, make a difference and everything, and people will appreciate it. Sometimes the emotions are high in medical school, and they come to you with, all sorts of problems, and, the pitchforks, and, they're angry and stuff like that. And, you do have to, a friend of mine calls it tolerance, leadership tolerance. You do have to have a fair amount of tolerance and leadership. And he's been a medical school dean for about 10 years. And he says, he thinks that's his most core value, the most core important skill that he has, is to be able to, listen to these things and not, and be able to control his own emotions and stuff. Because he doesn't always agree with everything, but at least he listens to them all and can make a difference with all of them. So I think that's tough. I think that's important, and I also think it's important, to make sure that you take care of yourselves too. I think it's hard. Leadership is hard, right? There's I've never talked to a good leader that doesn't have sleepless nights once in a while. People get upset, and it's important to approach those things from a very empathetic basis, but we also have to take care of ourselves as leaders, right? We have to make sure that that we're doing well, academically. We have to make sure that we're taking care of our health and those type of things, which I know that you both are, because if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be able to help others. So so I think that's important. But you all are doing a great job. I mean,
Thank you.
I can tell you that the administration is very impressed with both of your leaderships, collective leaderships, and I don't think that the inaugural class could have had could have selected any better leaders than the two of you, and I think the class appreciates it. I was telling one of the medical students the other day, when I was a first year medical student, and they said, well, did you try to get into student class president? And I said, honestly, we had such great student leadership that they were like all worried about things and stuff like that, and I said, they could worry about it, so I didn't have to, But then, of course, sometimes in your life you do have a calling where you kind of know that you need to step in from a leadership perspective, and grateful for both of you for doing so. So, what other things? Anything else you want to discuss?
I was just going to add on to that last note, which is I just want to say thank you very much to not only just all the faculty and staff at OCOM, but the administration as well. It's my entire medical education in general, even from before medical school. I don't think I've ever seen such a receptive and welcoming group of individuals. OCOM is truly a place where you can, walk down the hall and you'll see the associate dean of just the curriculum, like the person who's in charge of everything that we read and do. And you can stop him in the hallway and ask him a question, and he'll answer you on the spot. Same with yourself. You see Dr. Hasty in the hallway giving a tour. You can stop him, say hi, ask a question. He's more than happy to answer any question you have. So I think just that open, welcoming arms of not only us as student leadership, but students who can just reach out to administration, faculty, staff at any point in time. It speaks volumes.
Yeah, thanks. And you may have heard me say this before, but I've been at 3 different medical schools. I've consulted for other medical schools. I've visited nearly every osteopathic medical school in the country, and other schools. And I can tell you that this is the best faculty and staff I've ever worked with. In terms of caring. They care so much about the students here, and they really, and I think it's going to make a big difference. And it is, because they really, they listen, they appreciate the students. They want to make sure it's an excellent experience for the students. It doesn't mean, everybody's perfect, right? But it does mean that, the hope for the future is that we're going to, continue to, innovate and improve, and, it's going to be a great experience for everybody. So, yeah, really, really appreciate the the kind words. And yeah, I just had a visitor the other day, and they were a pretty sophisticated person. They've been to other medical schools, and they came around, and everybody like students were like fist bumping me, and all, the faculty were like waving and smiling and coming up to talk to a visitor and stuff, and they thought, is this for real, right? And I'm like, no, this is really, this is OCOM, right? It's this incredible place where I think folks really care, engaged, and affable, and just good people. So we're very, and know their stuff too. Yeah, so we're very blessed. Anyway, well, Edwin's given us the time's up, motion. So that means that another episode is coming to a close. Again, Kenny, Lidio, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thanks for all that you do for OCOM. And with that, we'll close out another show of OCOM Podcast, Modern Medical Education. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you.
Thank you.